So the answer is, you're not talking you're not talking for yourself, you're not talking by yourself. All the video in itself is giving praise to Muslim. The whole video that he gave as an answer back was crying out loud, yes. And at the end of the video, he's putting back the old video about writing no on a paper and saying no. The whole video saying yes, the end is saying no. Is this an interpretation of when Jesus saying, let your conversation be yea, or nay, nay? Is this an interpretation of when Jesus saying, let your conversation be yea, or nay, nay? The whole video saying yes, the end saying no. Be the judge, because they're never going to tell you. Now, the whole team toward the Voice of Gene make an announcement that they will track it all down and they will go back into their documents to show me how it's damning the way I bring my accusation, because they are a lot about using hypocrisy to discredit. They will say to me again, you look at your hypocrisy, to discredit. The revelation didn't struck me. It was Kelly Barr who knew about it. She told me during one of our conversations on the phone. I didn't know about it. I did not know anything about Muslim religion, Ramadan and all of that.
This is because the Prophet Muhammad was said to be very generous, especially during Ramadan.
Kelly Bauer pointed out that it was during the time of Ramadan. Okay, so it was during the time of Ramadan.
After the final day of Ramadan, a 3-day festival called Eid is held, where friends and family gather to celebrate. This celebration includes lots of food, the wearing of new clothes, an exchange of gifts, and the putting up of house decorations.
So because the video that I pulled up and used to show what a Ramadan consisted of, because it was too nice and too cheery for Nolin's taste, it was his duty now to tell everybody that the video meant that I was volunteering my actions to mean that I was now a practicing Muslim.
It doesn't explain how you decided to answer by putting a video giving praise to Muslim religion.
You know, I really don't see how I was praising that video as much as you and Kelly are suggesting there, Jonathan. Because you're basically saying that because I didn't scroll down through all the choices that YouTube has to offer, and then purposefully try and pick a video out that bashed on the Muslims and their celebration of Ramadan. So that now means, as you say, that I'm confessing to be a Muslim now. Because that's exactly what you two are saying out loud, that I'm a Muslim, which is a lie that both of you are claiming about me. So are you saying that we wouldn't have had this type of problem if I had only looked up information like you do, Jonathan? Because when I used the phrase, the pot calling the kettle black, it sure seemed like you had to go deep water fishing for the video response you gave back to me. Because now the phrase, the pot calling the kettle black, it's satanic somehow.
Idiom. The pot calling the kettle black. Ah, the pot calling the kettle black. A phrase as old as time. But what does it mean? It's an idiom used when someone criticizes another for a fault they themselves possess. Let's break it down. Imagine a pot and a kettle, both blackened from being used over an open flame. The pot observes the kettle and remarks, "You're black," completely oblivious to its own sooty exterior. So when you come across someone using the phrase, "Well, that's the pot calling the kettle black," understand they're highlighting an
Do you see the subliminal with the devil horns, even though it's all pointing fingers the same way, but it makes this illusion of devil horns and sign?
Of hypocrisy, in suggestion that before we accuse others, we should scrutinize.
And what about this right after with the 666? So what's the real reason why you answer back at me? No, it wasn't meant as an encouragement either. It's just another pot calling the kettle black situation that I wanted to point out, that's all. And then when I search for it, you've got the devil horns and the 666 symbolism having to do with the idiom, the pot calling the kettle black. Is this a coincidence? This is the only thing you had to answer me back. When at 24, take a chill pill, Jonathan, I had agreed with you on my Gaver Revesical. Exactly what part of me saying that he was talking out of his ass did you have a problem understanding?
And even he admits that he had to find this video, because what he's doing is he's using the derogatory things from a video that he purposely had to find. But what he's doing is supplying his own ammunition from a video that he brought to the table, not me.
And then when I search for it, you've got the devil horns and the 666 symbolism having to do with the idiom, the pot calling the kettle black. Is this a coincidence?
So again, this is another time where we can see you planting falsehoods, Jonathan. And then you blame me for being the one who sent you the phrase to begin with.
I know it's me that founded this clip of about idiom explained the pot calling the kettle black, but who gave this expression? To dig for it? It was you.
So it's my fault now, right?
But who gave this expression? To dig for it? It was you.
What a load of crap. You had to dig for a video like that. This is no different than if you were a cop who pulled me over and then planted drugs in my back seat. It's the same thing. Because that information or that evidence wouldn't be there if you hadn't put it there. So now we're the ones at fault yet again, right? And it's all because of your self-proclaimed innocence from all the world has to offer. So by me using the widely known idiom of the pot calling the kettle black, we're all now held into account for the definition that you finally decided on, right? I mean, maybe it wasn't the definition so much, because that part of your video is actually spot on, Jonathan. But it was all of the hidden message hand signs that you were planting into everybody's mind. And you were intentionally doing just that. Because what you were talking about with the devil horns and the 666 hand signs, that had nothing to do with the pot calling the kettle black idiom. Now did it?
So when you come across someone using the phrase, well, that's the pot calling the kettle black, understand they're highlighting an instant.
Do you see the subliminal with the devil horns, even though it's all pointing fingers the same way, but it makes this illusion of devil horns and sign?
Of hypocrisy, in suggestion that before we accuse others, we should scrutinize.
And what about this right after with the 666? So what's the real reason why you answer back at me? No, it wasn't meant as an encouragement either. It's just another pot calling the kettle black situation that I wanted to point out, that's all. And then when I search for it, you've got the devil horns and the 666 symbolism having to do with the idiom, the pot calling the kettle black. Is this a coincidence? This is the only thing you had to answer me back.
So what exactly were you trying to plant in everybody's mind, Jonathan? Because it sure wasn't the meaning of the pot calling the kettle black, was it? Nope. You could have cared less about that part of the idiom. Instead, you directly focused in on suggestive evil hand signs that had absolutely nothing to do with the actual meaning of the idiom, and then blame me for the use of the idiom to begin with. And because, of course, Jonathan's way too innocent to know what a widely used phrase might mean, so now everybody has to cater to how much worldly innocence that you say that you have on whatever topic we have at hand. Well, I, for one, won't cater to your claims of innocence, Jonathan, I don't care if you can't understand what they mean or not. And I'm not going to limit what I have to say just because you might not understand something. And even if you do look it up and you come to yet another faulty conclusion on what I actually meant, just like in this instance, I'll just have to take my chances on that, so that when you do get the meaning of it wrong, then I can easily point it out to you. You just need corrected, that's all. And I'm going to keep on using whatever idioms I feel apply. Just like you told Rodney that you weren't going to stop using certain scriptures just because they lined up with notable Elvis Presley events. Why would you do that?
And I know the reason you went to Luke 3:22, because the Georgia Guidestones was opened up on March 22nd, 1980.
Okay, so you're going to say that I can never use that scripture anymore at any time ever again because you're Georgia Guidestone? I didn't even know that. I'm not going to avoid using scripture because of your dumb Georgia Guidestones and your dumb Elvis Presley that's dead.
And just like you stood up to Rodney in order for you to be able to use whatever scriptures you want to use, this is going to be where I tell you that I'm going to use whatever idioms that I want to use, no matter how you want to try and twist the meanings, Jonathan. And I'm going to make it rather simple for you because I'm going to use the same idiom as I did before when it was the pot calling the kettle black. Now that you supposedly know the real meaning behind it, that is, because what you're about to see is one of the biggest instances of that very thing going on over in your house. Back when you were getting on the twins, Karen and Kathy, and you seemed to be playing Mr. Holier-than-thou by telling them how much discernment that they were lacking because they allowed the wolf to enter their house. And by a wolf, you were speaking about Jonathan Kleck. And this is where the pot calling the kettle black comes into play. Because now that you're making the claim that Jesus has been blinding you for the past 5 years concerning your own discernment, or should I say lack of discernment, regarding Gene Revel and his channel? So let me read the comment that you put out there to everybody once you found out that I was going to be bringing your whole let's make an oath demand to light. You said, Jesus put a veil on my eyes because according to his perfect plan, it was not time for me to understand it. It should be addressed in the open. You know how I rarely keep a matter to myself. Do you believe my innocence? No? You say no, but you know yes. And my sincerity? If not, why are we wrestling and you are not in someone else's house? I'm glad it was over my house, like the Gold Clubs. Who could receive instruction? Even because, as left over Gene's channel, all eyes are over at my house and our testimonies, which testimony you rejected after allowing a path over Gene's house. But then I heard Jonathan Kleck say, the Lord used you, Gene, and then there was a change of plans. Are you coming clean as a Muslim? Are you coming clean as a Muslim? Who are you, and where did you hide the real Abednego? Obama also says he is Christian, says he was making sure to leave behind on purpose his Muslim faith. And the ways of Muhammad are a way of confusion of face, but the way of the Lord is Jesus and his righteousness. There will be a path made for whoever comes clean towards his plea. So, Jonathan, you chose to go with the old Jesus put a veil over my face so that I couldn't see anything for the past 5 years excuse. Or did Jesus only put a veil over your face when it came to me and my channel? Because that's when the whole pot calling the kettle black hypocrite role comes into play for you, Jonathan.
He will say to me again, look at your hypocrisy, to discredit.
And the reason that I say it's a hypocrite's role is because what we see is you placing judgment on the twins for having a lack of discernment when it came to Jonathan Kleck and all his antics. But what's ironic about you doing all that is the fact that at the same time you were acting holier than thou with the twins, you were supposedly being blinded to the wolf Gene Revel as he freely entered your house. And that's the best example of being a hypocrite if I ever seen one. Because as you're sitting there demeaning the discernment of the twins concerning Jonathan Kleck, you're sitting in the very same position as the twins are. Because your so-called discernment was found to be just as lacking as theirs was, if not more. And that's the perfect example of the pot calling the kettle black, Jonathan. And there's no doubt about it. Just listen to how you reprimand the twins for making the exact same mistakes in discernment that Jesus forced you to make, supposedly. You may even want to think about maybe making a nice apology out for Kathy and Karen to hear, since you turned out to be the big black pot in the story. Or should I just say hypocrite and leave it at that?
So it's about discerning the spirit. Are you in the right house? Are you trusting the people that you should or shouldn't? It got to the point then Karen will say, I trust no man, I rely on the Lord, the Spirit is my God. Alright? And now we're here, and there is this big discussion, and it's always going back to who's guiding you, what is the purpose, how come did you fall in the trap of Jonathan Kleck. So all of this, and I don't doubt that you know the purpose why the wolf was let in. I don't doubt that you know the purpose of it. What I'm discussing here about is the thing about discernment that allowed the wolf to come in, not the purpose. The discernment or not discernment that led the wolf to come in or to get to you is what I'm addressing here. Not the purpose of it. Just the fact that you did not see that he was false right away. Just the fact that you did not see that he was false right away. So this is what I'm discussing now, not doubting that you know the purpose of it. Starting like this, I can assure you if the Lord wants me to follow a man, he will tell me. But then, that's for the purpose. Because he allowed Jonathan Kleck to enter into your life and to make the big mess at the ark. The Lord did not tell you, don't let him enter in, because there was a purpose later on for it. But the discernment was not there because you had not the discernment that it was possible for him to enter in, and so the purpose of it to be fulfilled. So sometimes God will not give something to somebody because his will is that if he would or she would have it, the gift of discerning spirit, for example, then the later purpose would not be fulfilled. But then there was this whole thing about Gene starting to mirror my videos and mirror videos from Kelly. And then there was an issue because somebody, Robert Kelly, was saying he's looking at it after coming from his lunch break, and it was not very good content for Gene to post our videos on his YouTube channel. And then after that, what came out of this is that I said to people, well, about discernment, if you do you trust Gene discernment? Do you trust Gene discernment? And so I was saying that to tell people, well, either you do have discernment or not. Do you trust Gene discernment? And I said it should suffice. The discernment or not discernment that led the wolf to come in or to get to you is what I'm addressing here. Not the purpose of it. Just the fact that you did not see that he was false right away. It doesn't explain